Chapter 17. Motherhood was overrated. Natasha was convinced. They told you having a child was something that changed you, made you complete and whole, made you a woman that no other experience ever could. Those were all lies. They didn't tell you that it could also destroy you if you weren't ready for it, and that you would be stuck with a child for the rest of your life and not know how to raise it, no matter how many books you read and how much advice you followed. She sat in her tiny balcony and sipped her wine as she pondered motherhood, marriage, and how she so desperately wanted to change her destiny by making new choices in her life. She was glad to have the house to herself for a change. Dia had gone to spend the night at a friend's house, and Vikram was out of town for a shoot. Natasha felt relieved to be alone. The faint voices of Simon and Garfunkel came through the wall from a neighbor's CD player. "Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again." Natasha hummed along. She took a large gulp of her wine and realized something. She was a loner. She enjoyed solitude. She enjoyed the peace of an empty house. She looked up at the twinkling stars as a wave of calm washed over her body. She embraced loneliness. Her life wasn't meant to be lived with other people. It didn't matter how old or young she was. She didn't need a companion. She didn't need to prove to society that she could be the perfect mother or a wonderful wife. She didn't need to prove anything to anyone. She could just be herself, and that was best done when alone. Just as she was gloating in this new revelation about herself, the bell rang. She cursed whoever was at the door. The incessant bells from the courier man to the ironing guy and the milkman gave her a headache every day. The minutiae of daily domesticity, and that too dictated by society, was such a burden. She wished she could be in a place without any of this. She opened the door and saw Rahul, staring straight at her and smiling, confident, and looking rakish. She was speechless for a few seconds before asking, "Rahul, what are you doing here?" She felt confused, elated, and shocked at the same time, even though he had interrupted her enjoyment of being alone. She was glad to see him. It had been quite a while since that afternoon, and she just didn't know how to approach him again. She was pleased that he had taken the initiative. They had started chatting again through messages, and this time it had gone into flirtatious territory. Seeing him again made her pulse quicken. She knew such a mutual attraction would be perilous. Rahul entered without being invited. "I got your message about designing some logos for Geeta. I've come up with some stuff I wanted to show you." He placed his art books on the table and surveyed the atmosphere. She took a quick breath of utter astonishment as she closed the door behind him. "You could have just emailed them to me." Rahul glanced at the half-empty bottle of wine lying on the table and a glass kept in the balcony, and figured he was doing the right thing. A woman sitting by herself could only mean she was wallowing in self-pity. He could sense that she needed company. His eyes studied her with curious intensity before he spoke with genuine concern. "Then I wouldn't be able to see how much you like them. Come, sit. Let me show you what I've made." Rahul laughed easily, and Natasha said, "Get yourself a glass and join me." Her eyes were pools of appeal that he could see himself drown in. They sat on the dining table discussing his ideas. Natasha was enthralled by this young man. He spoke animatedly with his eyes lighting up with each design, his brows drawing together with her suggestions, and a slow secret smile that they shared every time she poured him more wine. By the end of the hour, they were both quite intoxicated. Suddenly, Rahul came closer to her. His voice had an infinite compassionate tone. "I have a good idea." His nearness was overwhelming. Her heart pounded an erratic rhythm. Natasha wondered if he was going to make a move on her again. But he didn't. He grabbed another bottle of wine from the table and picked up her house keys that were lying on the center table and stuffed it into his jeans pocket. "Come with me." She felt the electricity of his touch as he took her hand. Natasha asked with trepidation and a bit too loudly for midnight in a hallway, Where are we going? I'm not dressed to go out. She looked down at her red polka dot chiffon blouse and black cropped trousers. His eyes raked boldly over her body. Rahul kept his fingers on his lips, requesting her to stay quiet. Instead of pressing the down button for the elevator, he pressed the second highest floor in the building. Why are we going up? Natasha wondered. And Rahul just shushed her and looked around. He didn't want anyone to hear them. She took a frank and admiring look at him. In her intoxicated haze, she could see that he was actually very handsome. Where had he got his good looks from? Not his mother, she thought. He stepped out of the lift at some floor, turned left, and walked through a door. Natasha walked behind him as she let him hold her hand. His grasp was warm and firm. What is this place? Natasha asked as she looked around an open space that was covered only from the top and one side. The front view opened up to the bright lights of the tops of buildings in the western suburbs of Mumbai, all the way down to the inky black sea that was barely noticeable. Welcome to the refuge floor, Rahul said. Come, sit down here. He walked towards the edge of the floor where there was a balcony with a glass front that overlooked the entire neighboring areas. She sat down on the cool marble floor and leisurely stretched her legs to look at the twinkling lights of the apartment buildings around her. Rahul disappeared for a minute and came back with a small rug and 2 cushions. Where did you... Natasha didn't complete the sentence as Rahul smiled. He set it down next to her as she moved her body on top of it and dropped down beside her to face her. I wouldn't want your beautiful ass to get cold, he said, and she giggled. He suddenly put his hand on her mouth and looked deep into her eyes. Try and be quiet, he said, more sure of himself than he had ever been in his life. She wrinkled her nose and nodded as he removed his hand. He poured some more wine into her glass and poured himself a little bit as well. She inclined her head in a small gesture of thanks. She looked at him, half drunk, and inquired a little too late in the day, Are you old enough to drink? Rahul dismissed the thought. If I'm old enough to vote, I'm old enough to drink. Natasha figured he had his own logic, and hers was quite blurry in any case. But she added as a precaution, You know you shouldn't drink so much. I promise to not drink so much if it makes you happy, Natasha, he said sincerely, as she hardly discerned anything but the view. This is beautiful, Rahul. But are we allowed up here? She asked. She vaguely remembered someone saying something about getting caught on a refuge floor. No, he sipped his wine. That's half the fun of it. Her eyes widened. He noticed how gentle and childlike she could be. Someone needed to take care of her. She deserved someone who loved her and wanted to look after her. Natasha's hormones raged like a burning fire. She had not done anything this exciting since she started dating Vikram. And the fact that they kept their relationship secret was thrilling enough for her to stick with him, even when her parents said she shouldn't marry him. She sighed and wondered how something so great deteriorated into something so horrible. Hey, Rahul's gentle nudge brought her back from her daydreams. What are you thinking about? An easy smile played at the corners of his mouth. Natasha's tight expression relaxed into a grin. Nothing. Old days. The past. Rahul shook his head. I'm with you now. Think about the new days. He came slightly closer to her as she looked around. Every time his gaze met hers, her heart turned over. Are you sure no one comes here? Rahul leaned back on the rug. Nope. It's the middle of the night. Most families have gone to sleep. Others, even if they need to cross the building, will go on the lower floors. And anyone who does want to do this isn't smart enough to know there is a refuge floor right next to the roof. They would still go up on the roof. So yes, we're all alone, Natasha. His voice was velvet-edged and sure. She noticed his set face, his square jaw and sparkling eyes. How could he be so young? He looked far older than his years, a boy blossoming into a man. A butterfly ready to be released from his cocoon. He only needed the impetus to fly. Natasha finished her glass and took a deep breath. Tilting her head back, she peered at his face. It was time to face the truth. There was no running away from the moment that demanded answers. "What do you want from me, Rahul?" She decided to be blunt, as she didn't want to misread his signs. She didn't want to be his friend, and she definitely didn't want to venture into anything that was not reciprocated. She could feel his muscles tense as he moved closer to her. He licked his lips nervously. "I'm open to suggestions." The underlying sensuality of his words captivated her. His eyes filled with a primal desire waiting to be unleashed, hungry for an adventure and longing to be set free. Her eyes shone bright in the pale light of the moon. She had an air of calm that made her immensely likable. Natasha's past, her present, and her fierce determination for her future made her even more attractive. Rahul was amazed at Natasha's inner beauty. He had never met a woman like her. She wasn't a typical auntie, and she was nothing like the girls who hung around him. She was ethereal. He had spent nights thinking about her. He had daydreamed in class about how to take a step forward without offending her. And he had hoped that she would just let herself go in the moment and be with him. Natasha closed her mind to logic and opened her heart to love. As if she had heard Rahul's thoughts, she moved towards him, impelled involuntarily by her own passion and a desire that had started burning deep within her. She kept her mouth within millimeters of his face and whispered, "I have an idea." The scent of her hair, the shadows of light falling on the curves of her body, the touch of her fingertips on his face, and the caress of her lips near his mouth made Rahul impatient to please her. He could wait no longer. He covered her mouth hungrily with his, devouring her. She answered back, eager and excited to be in this dangerous situation with a man half her age and a space that was open to invasion. Natasha lost herself in that kiss, the moment, the tidal wave of lust that overflowed between them. She felt a bottomless peace and satisfaction, as if her heart had been lifted from long years of suppression. He held her around the small of her waist, kissing her passionately as she let out a soft moan. He broke away for a brief moment, hesitant to continue. He didn't know if she had liked his kiss, his enthusiasm. This was all new with a woman who was twice his age. Suddenly, he was shy, insecure about how the woman of his dreams would respond to him. "Why did you stop?" Natasha asked, with a faint tremor in her voice. Had she gone too far? Had he not liked her initiating the kiss? Was it too much for him? Rahul stuttered. "I'm not sure if you really want me, whether I'm man enough for you, if I can match your expectations." A powerful relief filled her. At this point, she was beyond logic. She was filled with lust, a primal longing that tore through her body like a wild beast. She felt like a breathless girl of 18 all over again. Not a mother, and definitely not a housewife. Just a woman with a craving that was pleading to be satisfied. Because it was juicy, forbidden, and bordered on being deliciously wicked. She knew what to do. She would teach him. She would show him what her expectations were and how to match them. She would give him the ride of his life, a night he would never forget, and she would enjoy this control over him. Because though Natasha didn't know what it was like to be a mother, the one thing she did know was how to be a lover. She slowly moved her body over his, shifted him slightly on the rug. "Be comfortable. I wouldn't want your beautiful ass to get cold." In the refuge floor of Sapphire Towers overlooking the expanse of buildings glowing in the distance, and the perverse pleasure of someone walking in on them, Natasha played a game of voyeuristic pleasure that cut through the boundaries of anything she had ever done before. She straddled his hips with her thighs as she removed her blouse, revealing her black lace bra. The twinkling lights from the neighboring buildings faded as more people went to sleep, while Natasha went to bed with Rahul. The sexual desire she had for him heated her in the way of a fever that no man had ever done before. She slowly took off his clothes and started circling his nipples with her tongue. She moved gently across the length of his torso to take his hard, warm flesh into her mouth. Slowly, gently, firmly, moving faster, holding him with her hands, stroking him with her tongue, caressing him with her fingers. His tormented groan was a heady invitation as she rubbed her shapely breasts over his body in long, gentle movements. Discarding her clothes, she stood naked defiantly against the moonlight. His impatience grew to explosive proportions as she relented and finally, gently eased herself onto him, tucking her curves neatly into his own contours. He groaned with delight. "Try and be quiet," she whispered. Lying on the cool marble floor of Sapphire Towers, Rahul never imagined in his entire life that he would lose his virginity to a hot, older woman who took charge of his body and control of the night. A night that he would remember forever, even after she went away from his life and left him to find a girl of his own age.